Hello, everybody. My name is Shannon Brody, and we're going to get started here in a second, making sure everyone can see my screen. There you go. So what we're doing today is finishing up the conversation about documenting processes. So I'm just going to go over here to the 4 functions, and I'm going to go to a process, this customer complaint process. So when I select it, it takes me to this screen, which is where the documentation is created. So over here to the left, you see all these templates that we have available to document with. Last week, we started talking about work plans and ended with checklists. So what I'm going to do today is discuss the rest of the process tools. So we're going to talk about why those tools are used, in what situations, why you would choose to use them, and then I'm going to give some examples of how they're used. Before I do that, I just want to reiterate about work plans and checklists. So work plans are at the top here. This template is at the top because this is the template that's used the most. So when you start to document a process, you want to begin with a work plan. And the reason is the work plan is the most comprehensive, thorough documentation tool. It's simple, which is good, but its purpose is to fully document the process, with the result being that somebody with the minimum qualifications of the position could go in and actually read it, study it, memorize it, practice it, and know how to do that work. So when you've achieved that result with your work plans, you know you have good documentation. Processes may have checklists and scripts and files and forms, and they may not. It just depends on what the needs of the process are. So if necessary, you use these other templates below the work plans, but only if necessary. Don't try to force the use of these other tools. It's going to be obvious, and I'm going to explain to you why, when these other templates are useful or required. But having said that, work plans are always required. Any process or every process should have a work plan in it because that's the training, that's the documentation. The work plans then guide you to whether you use the other tools. So right here, number 6, this says, if a warranty issue, follow the guarantee and warranty policy. So this policy is right here in this process. This says if this is an employee issue, a simply job that wasn't done well, try resolving using the providing a solution script. So this is a script that's in this process. So this one of these tasks could say, fill out this checklist after you've had this conversation, and then you could make a link to a checklist. So the work plan is this overarching step-by-step set of tasks, and if a file is filled out, or if a form is required, or if a script is used, the work plan points to those other tools and says, use this script, fill out this checklist. As I spoke about last week, checklists are for quality control. They're for making sure that the steps were done, either for management purposes or for quality reasons. So if the manager, the person who is responsible for making sure that this work is done, not doing it themselves, but making sure that the results are achieved by their employees, that's the manager's job. If the manager decides that this process needs a checklist because they need to know what people have done and haven't done without having to go ask them, or it's critical that certain steps be performed thoroughly and they want to have a track record of that and want to be able to go back and refer to it, for quantification reasons, if they're measuring results or measuring how things are done or when they are done. So whatever reason like that, the manager decides there needs to be a checklist for quality control, then they would build a checklist and require the employee to fill it out. So let's talk about scripts next. So to build a script, it's the same as the other tools. I just select the header here where it says scripts. Then I'm going to put in the name of the script. I like to have the word script, like in this example, at the end of it. You don't have to do that. So you could put the name and then do like a hyphen like that, script. It's obvious that it's a script because of the template itself, but also the fact that it's under the script header here, that these are scripts. But if you'd like to put the word script at the end of it, you can. Then you just put create script, and then you've added or created a new script. Scripts have objective fields, so this is the purpose of the script, why it's used. That's what that objective field is for. When I first create this script, it's going to be blank like this one is. So the first thing I want to do is add a script item. So hit add script item, and then you're going to be shown a prompt field and a script field. The prompt is the explanation of what's happening. It's the situation that the employee is in. It's the reason why they're about to say what they're supposed to say. So one example of a prompt would be like a greeting. So somebody calls in on the phone. So the greeting is the prompt, and then the script side is the actual words that are spoken. So it's like, hi, thanks for calling. So these are the words you literally want the employee to be saying, and then they save it. So the script is the context, it's the explanation of what's happening, and then the prompt is, and then the script side are the literal words that are spoken. When you get to the next piece of the conversation, you go add script item again, and then click open the prompt. So after the greeting, thanks, thank you for calling. Then think, what's the next thing that is supposed to be accomplished in this conversation? So maybe they find out why the person is calling. What can we do for you? So I hit save, and then I go to the script side. So how can I help you? So each time the prompt side is giving the person the reason for why they're saying what they're saying over here. Scripts can also have variations in them, like if-then statements. So in the prompt, you could put like if no. So if they say no to whatever you've asked them, then what do you say? How about this? Or why? So you can say, then go to the next one and say, if yes, and then save that and put in what they say. So the script goes back and forth like this, documenting a conversation. If this was a frequently asked question script, then the prompt would be the question. So this is the actual question being asked. And then the script side is the answer. So the customer is asking a certain question. I put the question there, and then type in the answer for how that answer is given. These script items are all drag and drop, so I can drag these up and down to reorder them. If you miss an area of a conversation, then you can hit add script item and put it at the bottom, and then reorder it. The functionality of this toolbar is really similar to the work plans, so you start to get familiar with this basic functionality. There's probably not a whole lot of characters or paragraph marks or anything that would go into a script. It should be pretty clean and straightforward. Someone could read it and pretty much see what is being said or should be said. So let's talk now about what are good situations for using scripts in and different types of scripts. So this script here that I have at the top, this is called providing a solution script. This is an example of a workflow script or a conversational script. So it starts like at the beginning of the conversation, and then it goes through the steps of the conversation all the way to the end of it. So here, if the customer is complaining because it took too long or they're hung up with a service, then this is what you say. This is a good example of a good use of prompts. This says, listen to the complaint. When they're finished, make a sincere apology. Do it in a respectful way to see if you have addressed their need. So I'm not just saying what they're going to say. I'm explaining what inflection to use, what to be thinking about when they're saying that. So this kind of thing is really helpful for training purposes because you're explaining to the person the feeling that they want to get across to that customer. So workflow scripts generally start with a greeting of some kind, a situation where the conversation is occurring, and then they go through all the different avenues of the script down to where it's resolved at the end. Confirm that you understand. This is a good script item. This is teaching people communication skills. So repeating back to them, this is what I heard you say. Is that correct? Or checking in along the way. So does that make sense to you? Or do you have any questions about that? Or what do you think about that? These kind of techniques are great for sales processes, especially if you're selling something that's consultative in nature. It's not like over-the-counter sales. It's where there's a needs assessment going on or a conversation where you need to explain about the products and services. Oftentimes, bad salespeople are just like spewing out information, and they're not even checking in to see if the prospect is listening to them or kind of gets what they're saying. So you can build these techniques into your scripts and then use them to train your salespeople. Another type of script that's pretty common is a frequently asked questions script. So FAQs for customer complaints. So in this example, it would be the prompt would be the question, and then the script would be the answer. The prompt could also be a situation that's occurring. So here this could be a situation, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a question. And then this over here is how do they handle that situation? What do they say? With frequently asked questions scripts, these don't necessarily go in any particular order, the questions and answers. It's just a list of things that may or may not get asked. If it's something that is always asked or very commonly asked, then it could go into the conversational part or the conversation script. But if it's a question that is maybe sometimes and maybe not, then the frequently asked questions is a good place for it. Another quick point about scripts: when you're documenting important scripts, really think about how you can put in educational components into your scripts for the employee. So if you have a product or a service that it takes, in your estimation, takes some experience to sell, so you have to know a lot about the products or services in order to sell them correctly or appropriately, then think about how you can take some of that knowledge that is generally gained over time and put it into the script. So this can be done. A lot of times I'll hear people say, well, you have to have 5 years of experience in order to sell our product, or it's so complicated, or someone has to have worked in operations for 10 years before they can sell it. Well, that might be true to a certain degree, but try to punch holes in that a little bit. This is about how to make something that's of extreme value to your business. It's your intellectual property. So imagine you could take the 5 years of education that someone has gained by working in the field, encapsulate that into a script, into a process that someone else could learn, someone else could use. That is a really great way to think about your scripts. How can I advance the education of an entry-level employee, giving them information that they can study, memorize, understand, and translate to a prospect? If you can do that even 5%, that would be a great thing. Sit down with your best salespeople or your best customer service people or your best managers. Have them give you input on what could be in that script. What are techniques? What are things that they've seen work in the past? If you can take that information and build it into a script, then that, again, creates value for you. Next tool down here, this is called Uploaded Files. And what the Uploaded Files tool does is it allows you to upload documents to the process. So these are the 4 acceptable file types. There's Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, or PDF documents. So anytime you have any information in this file format or in these 4 file formats, and that information is used in the process or related to this process, then upload that whole file. So to upload a file, you just give the file a name, and then you hit Choose File right here. And then you're looking at your desktop. Then you choose the file that you want to upload. You'll see it here in the next to the Choose File to the right. And I have a feeling I probably have something named this already, so I'm going to put a little X next to it. Then I just hit Create File. So now TouchStone's taking a copy of that file and uploading it to the process. So here's the file right down here. If you want to view the file after you've uploaded it, you just hit View File. And then TouchStone's going to launch Word or Excel or whatever this file was, whatever software the file was uploaded in. And then you'll view it in that file format. Once you've viewed something, you can close it or save it somewhere else if you want to, and it's not actually removing it from TouchStone. It'll still be here in the Uploaded Files area. The only way to get rid of it permanently is to hit this little delete file, and then the file will go away. So anything that's in Excel will have to be an uploaded file because there's no other process tool here that is a spreadsheet. So Excel files, those are very common uploaded files. People don't do a whole lot with PowerPoint anymore, but if you do, then you can have PowerPoint presentations or anything that's in PowerPoint uploaded. I see a lot of PDF manuals uploaded to processes, especially in like products or services area. So if you want to have like a resource center for all of your products information or information about your products, you can take like user manuals and upload those whole manuals. You may choose to upload an employee handbook or something like that that's in a PDF file format, and then it's available in TouchStone for anyone who wants to view it. Next tool down here, this is called the Documents tool. And this is just an example of a document. So we'll come back to this in a minute. To create a document, I just click the Documents header right here. And then again, I'm going to put the name of the document. Then I hit Create Document. So now you'll see I've got 2 documents here, this original customer complaint form and then this new one. If I click right here where it says click to begin adding content, now the document will open. So the document tool is called the document tool because it's like a blank Word document. So it will give you a field basically where you can type in text. So I could make a list right here, or I could write a letter. I could do sample emails. I could put paragraphs of information, like that would be in more of a paragraph format. So anytime you have text that doesn't fit into the work plan for whatever reason, then this is a good place to put it. You can also build tables using the document tool. So right here, if I go Insert Table, then I can tell TouchStone how many columns and rows I want. And then when I hit Insert, then you'll see this table. So it's similar to, it's really simple table building, which is similar to what you would see in Word. Here in I can do table and row properties. So if you want to, this table exists, but it's not outlined. It doesn't have like a border color or a background color. So I could do like a border color and make it black here and hit Apply and then Update. So now this is all bolded black. Or you can do just the outline of the table. And then these toolbar items do allow you to add rows and columns and things like that. You can also take something that's in a Word document, like a file or a form. So here's this customer complaint form. And then I could just copy this. And then if I go back to TouchStone here, I can just paste this into the form tool. So that's what it looks like. So if you have forms that are in Word and you want to put them into TouchStone, cut and paste them into the document tool. You can always make them an uploaded file, but I kind of think with Word documents that can be cut and pasted in, it's better to have it in the document tool, because when I click an uploaded file like this one, I have to hit View File, and then Word's going to launch, and then it's going to show me that document in Word. It's just a few extra steps. If it's in the document tool, I just click it, and then whoop, there it is. So anything that doesn't have formulas in it, like Excel spreadsheets, can be cut and pasted into the document tool, and it just allows you to see it a little bit easier than having it be an uploaded file. Next tool down is called the Custom Form tool. So this Custom Form tool, I'm just going to click on this example here. This Custom Form tool allows you to build fillable forms. So it's like Google Forms, if you've ever used that. If the process someone needs to collect information about what happened while they were running the process, that's generally a good use of the Custom Form tool. These custom forms are filled out and completed over on the dashboard here. So I'm going to show you what this looks like on the dashboard before we end today. But that's an important thing to remember. Where we are now is where it's created. So here's where the form's created, the checklist is created, the documents are created. They're not used here, they're just created here. Where they're used is over here on the dashboard. So with the Custom Form tool, if you think it's valuable to collect information about what happened while someone was running the process, then that's a good reason to build a custom form. This is another good reason to build a custom form. This is a customer complaint new employee test. So this is a form that's been, or a custom form that's been created, and a test has been built in it. So once you've documented a process, you can go in and build these questions and answers. And then when a new employee is learning the customer complaint process, they can take the test on the dashboard. And again, I'll show you what that looks like. So every process could have a test in it, ultimately. And when you're training new employees, it's really a cool thing to have. It just gets them to think a little bit more, and it gives the manager a way of evaluating whether they've absorbed the information or not. This right here is a customer complaint form that's been built in TouchStone. So this is an example of when I'm on the phone with a customer and they're complaining, I may pull this form up and fill out this information and save it back to TouchStone. And then my manager could go and run a report and take a look at the customer complaints and how they were resolved. The custom form tool is also great for managerial processes. So, and you'll see a lot of custom forms built in our library processes inside of guiding the business in management. So, agenda forms for meetings, problem resolution, giving someone a verbal or written warning, doing performance review, onboarding, 60-day reviews, HR things like recruiting and hiring, and verifying that qualifications and experience is there, and checking off those checklists. Doing new employee training and checking off the checklists inside of the using the custom form tool. So to build a custom form, same as the other tools, I just hit the title here, Custom Forms, and then I'm going to go up here and put in the name of the custom form, and then hit Create Custom Form. So now you can see down here, I've got this new custom form. Here are these other two that were already there. The short answer field is for short answers. So it could be a date, or it could be someone's name, and then you just hit save, and then it gives you this short field. If you want a longer fill in the blank kind of field, where someone has to type in a lot of information, then use the paragraph. If it's more than one sentence, use the paragraph. So this could be for comments, or notes someone has to take. And then when you save that, then you've got this field, and then this expands so that they can type in a lot of information into here. You can ask multiple choice. So multiple choice is when there's one answer. So if this is the question right here in the field label, and then these are the choices that you give someone. They can only choose one if it's multiple choice. You can add more choices just by clicking, or delete them by hitting the negative, or plus adds more. So you can have an infinite number of choices, and you just add or delete right here in this field. You can also reorder the choices. These are all just drag and drop here, so I can flip the choices around. And then when I save it, this is what it looks like. So I can't click, if I click this right now, it's just going to open for me to edit. So this isn't where, and people get confused by this, so I'm just saying it again. This isn't where I'm filling this form out. This is where it's being created. Checklist is for if multiple things need to be checked off. So multiple choice is one answer. Checklist could be multiple things. So it could be like a list of things that someone needs to verify. So you give these different options again. You can add more, delete, and you hit save until now when I go to the control panel to complete this, I can check off multiple boxes here. You can do drop down as well. This is good for yes, no questions. Or if you have like a big list of things and you don't want your form to be super long, you can do it like in drop down format. So this is yes, no, you could do maybe. And then when you save it, that's what the drop down looks like. You can also drag and drop these to reorder them. This is all, I'm just dragging up and down. If you have like a question that's answered yes or no, you could also do like a paragraph underneath it and put why. So you want them to tell you why that happened. And so for this, I could put this like right underneath this yes or no question. So again, the custom forms are for gathering information about what happened. And these are great management tools because a manager's responsibility is to make sure the work is getting done without being there doing it themselves. And if they just have to ask and wonder, then it's difficult to manage in that fashion. If you have simple forms, checklists, things where the employee is giving you the information about what happened, that's extremely useful. Next tool down, this is called a policy note. So there's not an example of one here, but this could be a warranty and guarantee policy. So to build a policy note, you just select policy note, then you're going to put in the name of the policy, and then you hit create policy note. And then this is what it looks like. Then you want to hit this little edit pencil, and now I can build the policy. So here I want to put the from and the to. So the from should always be a position title. It shouldn't be a person's name. So this could be from management. And then it could be to all employees or to the sales department. Then you can put in the date of the policy was created. This is just choosing the date. And then the effective date. Sometimes the actual date is different from the effective date because you want to give people time to review the policy. You can put whether it's new or revised, and then here's where the actual text of the policy statement goes. And then when you're happy with it, you just hit save. So what the policy template is for, the policy note is for, is documenting rules, regulations, compliance, safety things, anything that's just of the utmost of importance about the process. So something that you really need employees to recognize and understand. And that could be for legal reasons, or it could also be for culture reasons. So if you want to shape the culture of your company, if you really want to have certain guiding principles or ways that you want your employees to be behaving or treating your employees or treating each other, the policy area is a good place to write these things out. Also think about any kind of policy and how it relates to the process. So after you've documented a process, just think to yourself, is there something, a policy around this that is valuable? And sometimes that's going to be obvious if you're dealing with legal or compliance or safety things regarding that process. But sometimes it's just a thought you've put into it, like how could we go the extra mile here, and then you can document it in the policy note field. On the dashboard, you can actually require employees to go and read and save the policy notes, just as an indication to you that they've read and agreed to it. Sometimes policy notes are good when you have this reoccurring issue. We get so busy in small business that we don't have time to often stop and address things, and we just kind of live with it and let it go because everyone's so busy. Documenting a policy is a good way to shift change or have change management go on. So if you have this reoccurring issue with a department in a certain area related to any type of work, related to customers, if you document a policy, you send an email out saying, we have a new policy in TouchStone, go to this process and review it. That's a way of kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, this isn't going to happen anymore. And from this point forward, anyone who violates this policy, it becomes a management issue at that point. Below the policy tool, the next tool down here, second from the bottom, is called video. So this is where you can upload training videos. So this is an actual video that's been uploaded to TouchStone. After you've documented a process, if the process lends itself to a visual representation, so you can either do a screen capture video, or you can shoot a video with your phone and then download that to your computer and upload it to TouchStone. Almost everything can have a visual representation of it. So either it's somebody talking about it, like this is important because, giving some context to it, some theory behind it, and literally use your phone to capture someone saying that. That's great for training purposes. If it's literally something you can record out in the field, or how a truck's supposed to look, or how a neat office looks, anything like that, pop open your phone and just videotape it. It doesn't have to be some big Hollywood production. In fact, it shouldn't be. It should be something very simple and ad hoc. Just pull out your phone and videotape it. You also think about any kind of screen recordings you can do to represent it. So if it's an administrative process or a computer process where you can show with screen captures and voiceover how it looks, that's also extremely useful. This is just a recording tool that I use, and you can download any of these off the internet pretty quickly. But if you have a speaker where you can speak into your phone or a headset, you just take the screen like this, and then you go capture video, and it gives you like a countdown, and then you'd be talking into your computer, and then you'd say, go here, click this, go here to TouchStone, open the org chart, go here, click this, go there. So you're showing them a visual of it as you're actually walking through it. And then with the screen recording software, when you're finished with it, you just hit finish, and then you get a video created. It needs to be saved as an MP4, but then you just go here to the video tool inside of TouchStone, and then you give your video a title, and then you hit choose file right here, and then you find the video, and then you'll see it loading, in this green little bar will appear. This video is probably about 5 minutes. It's going to take maybe a third of the time. It's probably less than that. It takes about a third of the time of the video to upload. You'll see this little file upload complete, and then you just hit the save button here, and then the video is in TouchStone. So if you have a longer video, it might take you a while to upload it, but you can have TouchStone kind of running in the background, uploading the video, and you can go on and do other things and then come back and save it. So think about what your version of video would be. It doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming project. Once you've documented a work plan like this one, say, you can just shoot a video of you talking about it. Or are you going through the steps? It's like the steps of the work plan become becomes the steps of the video, or it should be. So determine whether this is a warranty or not. If it's not, complete the form. You can show how you're completing the form and then explain about the guarantee policy. And it doesn't have to be, it could be a screen capture video where you're doing all of this, or you could have somebody, and I saw this the other day, I thought it was pretty clever because this company, for whatever reason, didn't settle in on screen capture recording video yet, like I just showed you here. So he had someone hold the phone next to him where you could see his face and then also the computer screen. And then he was just talking about it. He's like, open this, click this, and this is why this is important. And so it's just the person talking about how they're doing that work. And they did it in like 10 minutes. And to me, it improved the training probably 20% because it just gives kind of more of a personal interaction to it and a visual of it. Short training videos are better than long ones. I think about 10, 15-minute videos are good. So if you have a complicated process where it has multiple parts to it, just shoot the video in chunks. Don't do an hour-long training video. You lose people's attention. Even a half an hour, you lose their attention. Shoot for more like 10, 15 minutes and have maybe 5 or 6 videos rather than having an hour-long video. One other thing about videos don't replace the work plans. They don't replace the documentation over here. You can't just shoot a video of you talking and then say, okay, it's done, documentation completed, let's move on. The reason is the video is not thorough enough typically. And if we're talking about a step-by-step of something, if I'm watching a video and I forgot step number 3 or 4, I have to rewind and find my place in the video and then remind myself. And oftentimes I'm taking notes as I'm watching it. Well, the notes should be the work plan. So always start with the work plan, even though it's harder, and it's harder because it's better, and that's usually how life is. But after you've done that, then shoot the video and have the video enhance the documentation, not be the documentation. Now, audio is the same idea. This is the audio tool down here. Audio is the same idea, except for these are audio files or MP3 files. So to upload an audio file, you just click audio. You're going to put in the title, choose file, find your MP3, and there's just a reminder right here of the file type. And then once it loads, hit save. Audio files load much faster than the video files. The video files take a while to a third of the time typically, often less depending on your browser speed. But audio files are lickety-split. They just upload quickly. Again, once it's uploaded, it lives in TouchStone, so there's no delay when you go to play an audio file or a video file. So with audio files, I think if a process has a script in it, like this one, provide a solution script, it's a really great enhancement for the training to do a role play of the script. So have a role play of this audio file, or have the audio file be a role play of this script. So you can literally record actual customer complaint interactions, or you can have 2 people role play it. So either way. In the role play, the person is being able to hear how the script sounds, how they're supposed to sound. Especially when there's stuff like this, like listen to their complaint, when they're finished, be sincere, be respectful. Well, how's that supposed to sound? And then in the audio, then the person gets this sense of how it's supposed to sound. This is also clever. How is it not supposed to sound? Example of how not to sound. This is also impactful because you can tell someone, well, don't say that way, or don't use that word, or don't talk to him like that. If they can hear how it sounds when they're doing it that way, then that's much more powerful than someone just telling them. All right, so this is the process tools page. I'm going to show you what all this looks like on the dashboard just to kind of bring it full circle. But before we leave here, I just want to say again, always start with the work plan. When you go, put in your process title, link it to a job description, and then start with your work plan. Go first decide, is this going to have multiple work plans in it, or is it just going to be one work plan? Think about the tasks, the steps, and document those steps and tasks. When you're documenting the tasks, let the task guide you to decide if you need these other tools. So if there's a policy in it, that's important. Let the task guide you to the policy, like this one. If there's a script, a verbal interaction, let the task guide you to the need of the script. If I know that I've got to make a phone call or if I've got to talk to someone, then that's a pretty good indication that I need a script. Let the task guide you to know whether there's a checklist to be filled out or a form. If you're saying in your task they need to collect this information, they need to gather all of this, and then they need to ask this question, then that's a pretty good indication that there needs to be a form of some kind that is filled out. So you decide if you want it to be a document or if you want it to be the custom form tool. These custom forms can be printed too. So if you don't want them used in TouchStone for whatever reason, right here, this is the export arrow, and I can print everything inside of TouchStone. I don't think you'd probably use a custom form if you were going to print it, because then you wouldn't have space here. This expands as people type into it. So if you want to print forms, maybe use something more like this where you're putting extra fields in. So once the work plan is done, it's going to be a good indication of whether you need these other tools. If you don't need the other tools, then don't use them. Oftentimes, a process is just work plans, or just one work plan. And then that's it. It doesn't have any of these other tools. Okay, so let's go to the dashboard here. So I've got this customer complaint process linked to this position on the org chart. And now I have a control panel for this position. So here on the dashboard, when I click this control panel, then it's going to show me a list of everything that I'm accountable for. Here at the top, here's this customer complaint process. This is the default list, and these are just processes that haven't been organized into my groups yet, right here. So using this toolbar item here, I've created these groups. This one's called management, this one's called finance, this one's called human resources, and I just built these groups here, and then I just drug these processes from the default list into the groups. So you just pull up and down to put these into the correct groups. Creating the groups just helps you organize the processes better, so it's easier to see things, it's easier to find things. Then when you refresh the screen, then the default list is going to disappear. It'll only reappear if more processes are added to the job description. So here's this customer complaint process. If I was going to handle a customer complaint, I'd probably go right to this process. I could look at these work plans right here and kind of remind myself of what to do if I needed to. If the process had a checklist in it, like this one, I could click the checklist, and then I'd go and could fill this checklist out as I did these steps. I could save this as the client's name who's complaining. Whatever is in the save as is what you can search for in a report. So think about that when you're putting the save as in. When I save this, it date and time stamps it right here, and then it creates this little print button. The print actually creates a PDF, and it'll open in a second window. So if you want to download this completed checklist somewhere else or print it, you can. Once it's saved, you'll see the print button appear. So this is now saved over here in this completed folder. I can also search for it using the reports tool. If I have an uploaded file like this one, if I select this uploaded file, I can hit view file and view this spreadsheet if that's what it is. Then I could fill the spreadsheet out, save it, and then re-upload it right here. So versions of spreadsheets and documents and forms can be saved here in the control panel. When I click this, I'm just getting the master copy that was uploaded over on the Process Tools page. But once it's opened in Excel, I can fill out that spreadsheet, save it, and re-upload it to TouchStone if need be. If there's a document in a process like this one, I can click it, and this has a form in it that these fields are all live now, so I could fill this form out or add information to it, and then same idea, I just save it. Sometimes a form like this one in the document tool is the exact same thing that you could put in a custom form down here. It might just be a style preference, or you like it better as a document because you like, how to making lines where people fill things in rather than doing fields. If the process has a custom form in it, like this one, I just click this custom form, and now these fields are all live. So I can put in the name right here, the work order number, the telephone number, the address, why they complained, what was the date related to the complaint, results of the investigation. So again, these fields are all live, and you can just fill them out, and then when you're happy with it, you save it. So let's run through another example of this. So let's imagine that I got hired as the manager of admin and finance, and I'm being trained in the customer complaint process right here. I'm not going to use it because I'm not doing customer complaints yet. I'm just learning it. So I would go to this customer complaint process, and I would be instructed to read, study, watch the videos, practice filling out the forms, and take the test. In amongst all that, there might be a point where my manager says, well, I want you to watch so-and-so do this for a while, or let's talk about it. So there could be some other types of training interactions going on, but the heart of it is me in my dashboard here studying this information. So I'd go to this work plan, and I'd read the tasks, study them, make sure I understood them. I might go to these different steps while in another software program while I'm being led to do it. When I feel like I've got the work plan, I just put done in this, and then I save it. So now it's going to date and time stamp it. My manager sees this little note from me saying that I feel like I understand this work plan. Then I'd go to the next one. This is customer complaint guidelines. Read through them. I get it. I understand. Same thing. Done. And then I save it. So I'm just methodically going through as the new employee and learning this. I'd go to the scripts right here, and I'd memorize these scripts. When people memorize things, sometimes if it's simple and straightforward, they're going to say it just how it's written. Other times when it's stuff more elaborate like this, they're going to memorize this information, but then it's going to come out in their own words. You're not trying to create robots where everyone says everything in the exact same way. But the idea of scripts is to memorize them and to practice saying them. So same thing, I would just say done on this. Then go through the rest of the tools, upload to files, documents. I'd practice filling out the custom forms. I'd read the policies. I could even go here and say read and agree and save that. Now there's a date and time stamp with an instance of me agreeing to this. So my manager knows I've read it. I can watch these videos. So right here, click the play button. I watch the video and I say done. So you're having the employee kind of use this as e-learning, and they're going through and studying and watching and listening. At the end of it, they can take the test, which is right here. Customer complaint, new employee test. They click the test. Then they go in and say, how do you begin a customer complaint conversation? So they'd fill in, this is again all live text. What are things not to do? Give excuses. Don't give a discount. What are the steps that you go over in the conversation? So open-ended questions, I think, are good here for these tests because you're kind of getting the employee to think about it. That really demonstrates that they truly understand. And then they save it. So what the manager can do is after that day of training or that week of training, they can go down here in management review, and then they can go to you on the user list, the new employee. They can put in a date range if they're looking for what happened that week. And when then they hit run report, it's going to give them everything that I've done. So it's going to say done, 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 or save, save, saved. There might be even notes to you right here about what happened while they were doing it. So that's just another way to think about the using of the process tools on the dashboard. sometimes when you think about how the process is going to be used, that then will dictate what tools you decide to use to document it with. So I'll say that again. We were talking today about what tools on the process tools page to use and when to use those. So if you think about how the process is going to be used, either how you're going to use it on the dashboard in TouchStone or how it's used in general, that sometimes leads you to decide what types of tools to use. You may never have thought that the process that a process could have a checklist in it, because you couldn't imagine someone on a clipboard with a bunch of checklists running around or saving them on their desktop. But now that if you can see how it might be used on the dashboard, that possibly could change your mind about the use of the checklist. Any questions? Yeah, this is a good question. So let me go here. Someone's asking about a checklist of checklists. I think I know what you mean, though. So I'm going to go to an example process right here. So here's a process called New Employee Introduction and Orientation. So this is a checklist here for the training a new employee. So this is a checklist of other processes or even of other checklists right here. So this is like an overarching checklist, and I think this is what you're referring to. So if I'm going to fill this out for a new employee, I'll just put their name right here, and then I go and start ticking these boxes off. If I want to say to myself, okay, I did these two things, now I need to fill out this new employee checklist. If you left click, it's going to open this in a new window. So you see I'm in TouchStone still right here, but now I'm in this new window. So now I can fill this out. I can put the employee's name here, and then I can X that I did these things, and then I can save this. Now this is being saved back to TouchStone, and then I can go back here to this checklist and say, yep, I did that. So you can have a checklist of other checklists or of other forms or of other documents, and these are just hyperlinks that have been created to those things. If I just clicked this, it's going to open it in the same window. I can hit the back button and go back to this checklist. But if I right-click it, again, it's opening it in a second window, which I think is better because then you can toggle back and forth between the main checklist and then this added check or the new checklist that was opened. So someone's asking a question about the organization chart. So the org chart obviously is changed. They're asking about the zoom. So you can zoom in and out like this, obviously. But when you click on something and then you go back to the org chart, it's going to maintain the size and face of when you first clicked on it. So the answer to your question is no. You can't like make your org chart this big and then somehow save this big so that if you click away and go back to it, it will appear that way again. TouchStone will always go back to the main zoom or when you click away and then refresh and click back what it was originally at. That is an interesting suggestion, though. It's hard with Zoom because everybody's monitors are different and the way that you've set your monitors are different. So to choose a size that is good for everyone, that's kind of what we strive for. But I'll think about that a little bit more and if there's some other kind of solution for it, I don't know. I'll bring it up in a production meeting. We'll see what comes of it. You can also collapse boxes like this. So if you want to just see one row of the org chart, and then I can zoom in and out on this if I wanted to. And then when I hit these little plus signs, it plops back open. And then that stays at that same size, but then I just have to scroll down to see all of it. So if you're wanting to just look at one department or even print one department, you can do this. Sorry, I just clicked it and it went to the job description. But you can just close it up like that, and then you can see just this row and then just this department. So that's some of the new functionality. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.